Hi all. If you're looking for an easy way to keep track of your students' assignments every day, this spreadsheet might be the solution for you. Now, this spreadsheet specifically uses Google Forms, so if you are using Google Forms to check in with your students every day or to give quizzes every day, things like that, this might work for you. I do want to make sure that I clarify one thing. Even though this is designed so that you can check in with your students every day, there's not necessarily an expectation that you figure out how to take attendance for every single student every single day. This is more to look for patterns in attendance. Basically what it does is it's got a page on here that it's called Master Check-In, that each day it takes the quizzes that students take or the check-ins that students take, and this spreadsheet works to create a grade for those students or identify a 1 for turning it in or a 0 for not turning it in if it's just a check-in assignment, and then identifying how many students turned it in, how many students are missing, and then you can always sort these to see what students missing. For example, if I wanted to see who was missing an assignment on 417, I can go to this drop down arrow here and sort, and I'll do A to Z, and what it'll do is it'll put all the zeros on the top and I can see which students did that. By the way, over here it has, I just have names so that it's generic, but you can put your students' names in here. Basically what you do in this area right here is you put your student names and then your student ID numbers that you can pull from Synergy and paste into this row or these two rows. And then you will have the names and student IDs for all your students, and then you can see which ones are missing assignments on any day. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the process of kind of what this sheet does, and then I'm going to show you how to use this sheet. If you want to use it, you can use the template that I have for this, and then you can basically take your Google Forms and add them to that template, and then you can create this sheet in a few simple steps. There are some formulas in here that you need to use, but the formulas are already written out for you, and you would just need to make some simple modifications to those formulas. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at the 23rd. So this is a quiz that was taken on the 23rd from a group of students. Now, on this particular quiz, if you take a look, it's got all of the regular stuff. So there's been one change that I made to this spreadsheet after it came in from the Google form. Everything else is the same. There's a timestamp here, an email address, the score, because this was created as a quiz, and then all of the questions that were asked, including the student ID number for different students. Now, I just did student ID numbers 1 through 165, but you would do your students' actual student ID numbers. And then any other questions you want to ask them, like their name, their class period if you want, and then the actual questions. So this was a 10-question quiz that was asked of students. Now, what this spreadsheet does is there's one additional column that is added. So it needs to be column D. So what I did to add this column is I just went to column C and I right-clicked on it and inserted one column on the right. And then I used this formula here to look up the grade. And then it assigned a grade based on what score the students got. So basically it took whatever their grade is and rounded it to 2 decimal points, and then it looked up that grade and figured out that that was 10 out of 10 was an A and 8 out of 10 was a B, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, once those grades were determined, then on the main page, the master check-in page for 423, there's a code in here to pull in the grade for each student, and if a grade isn't found, to identify that it was missing, so that you can tell when students are missing certain assignments or not. And then after all of that is done, there's a simple code that just counts how many times the word missing shows up in here, and then when you count the number of missings, that tells you how many students are missing that assignment, and then how many students have turned in that assignment. So if this sounds like something that you would be interested in using, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through the process of how this actually works.